Dear friends, dear colleagues in the Philippines, it is an honor to be joining you today, 14th of September, for this global day of action to call for an end to arbitrary killings in the Philippines. A couple of months ago, in front of the Human Rights Council, the UN human rights body presented a report on the situation in the Philippines, and that report confirmed everything that we, special rapporteurs, had highlighted and denounced for the last 4 years. It confirmed the widespread killings in the context of the war on drugs. It confirmed the killings against farmers and indigenous people, the killings of lawyers, the killings of human rights defenders. The report confirmed the silencing of independent media, critics, and members of the opposition, and importantly, the report confirmed the persistent impunity for those arbitrary deprivation of life. Sadly, but not surprisingly, since the report was issued, more killings have taken place, including that of human rights defenders, and they are the painful and saddest reminder that every day that passes by, there are more killings. And that's why the international community must act now. It must act in the context of its preventive mandate, and it must act decisively. Along with 32 other independent experts of the human rights system, I urge the Human Rights Council to, number one, establish an on-the-ground international investigation into the human rights situation in the Philippines. Number two, strengthen the mandate of the human rights body of the UN to continue its monitoring and reporting on the human rights violation in the Philippines. Number three, I call on the International Criminal Court to prioritize the completion of its preliminary examination of the situation in the Philippines. Along with 32 other independent experts of special procedures, I also call on member states to apply sanctions against individual Philippine officials who have committed, who have incited, or who have failed to investigate or prevent human rights violations, including arbitrary killings. The time to act is now. For the last 2 months, more people have lost their life, more human rights defenders, more victims among the poorest and most impoverished communities in the Philippines. I urge the Human Rights Council to hear the voice of civil society of the Philippines, to hear the voice of the families of the victims, to hear all of those who have lost loved ones in these senseless attacks against the most underprivileged and impoverished members of the Philippine society. Thank you very much.